day. Some of you might be following me on social media, but others of you might not know who I am. My name is Adam Haroun, and I am a strategic brand marketing expert who works exclusively in the aesthetic space. I speak at different conferences around the globe, Beauty Boss being one of my absolute favorites. I have clients all around the world. Originally, I'm from Canada, but I like to joke that now I just basically live at the airport. But let's talk a little bit about you. But before I get into that, it's just been a wild 24 hours of travel. I had every intention to be in Fort Lauderdale coming from a client visit in Texas, and I got diverted, and there were storms, and it was crazy. So travel has a way of doing that. But in any case, let's talk about building a brilliant brand. How do you do it? So the example I really want to share with all of you this afternoon is, in any industry, and especially in medical aesthetics, we have commodities, right? So I've got three really quick examples for you. A cup of coffee, right? If you make that at home with your, Nespresso or with your Keurig machine, that's going to cost you, a dollar, $2, right? If you go to Macy's or Bloomingdale's and get a white polo shirt, that's going to cost you, what, 70, $80. And water, I'm sure many of you have water, at your seat right now. Water is basically free, right? But when we add a luxury brand into the equation, all of a sudden, that conversation changes, right? That dollar or two cup of coffee, if you put the Starbucks logo on that cup, now it's 5, 6, 7, $8, depending on how fancy you get. If you add the Gucci stripes to that exact same white polo shirt, that is, now a, $400, $500 shirt, right? And water is my favorite example of branding, right? Because the way you feel when you grab a bottle of Fiji, that's so different, right? Than how you feel when you grab a bottle of, Dasani water, right? So luxury branding can really, truly change the conversation for a brand. It can change it for your practice. So how do you go about building a luxury brand for your aesthetic practice? Before I tell you how, I really want us all to get clear on what a brand is, right? And the way I look at marketing versus branding, I think, a lot of clinicians use those terms interchangeably. They work together. They really are two sides of the same conversation, right? For me, marketing is, where you as a practice, as a provider, are sharing your message with the marketplace, right? And when that patient understands what makes you different, what makes your practice different, that is the branding side at work and at play. So, really, branding and marketing aren't at odds, they aren't interchangeable. I really see them as being two sides of the same conversation. Right? Sales, has short-term boosts from marketing activity, but those long-term growth efforts, that long-term sustainable, practice that will endure, that is truly found in building a brand, right? So again, they work together, marketing being more short term, brand building really being something you do on a longer term basis. And if you look at a table here that really kind of explains all the steps in building a luxury brand, it's actually a lot easier than you think. And when you do it in a sequential way, it's a lot more possible than you might think. So there's really 5 steps to building a luxury brand, and I'm going to walk you through all of them this afternoon. First and foremost, we want to target the right audience, right? People with the budget for your treatments and procedures. For high margin procedures, right? If you're doing, $70 lash lifts in your practice, that's wonderful and good for you. But I want you marketing, your higher margin procedures, your energy based treatments, right? That's really where you're going to see that margin. You do it by debuting a unique services lineup at prestige prices that convey quality so you can really acquire and win over patients for life. So, how do you do it? Let's get into this. So, let's start by figuring out how do we really avoid the price shoppers, right? It's not a matter of if you're going to deal with price shoppers, it's when and how many, right? So, to really illustrate some of the best practices you all can keep in mind to really mitigate these price shoppers in your practice, I want to share a little bit of a funny example with you, right? And I want to talk to you all about soup. So, where I live, the closest supermarket to me is Whole Foods. So if I'm just running errands between meetings, no worries, right? I'll go there and grab my soup. If I'm doing maybe a bigger shopping trip or what have you, I might go to, Safeway or, the main supermarket. If someone wanted to be a little bit more economical, right, they could go to Walmart. And I mean, I probably wouldn't buy it. I don't know if there's even real mushrooms in it, right? But they do sell soup at the dollar store, right? So why am I talking to you all about this? And why are we talking about soup? And I want you all to write this down. You need to understand and really remember what end of the market you wish to occupy, and then your marketing needs to align with it, right? You need to get clear on what end of the market you wish to occupy, you wish to serve, and then your marketing needs to align with it. Look, you can buy a blue sweater at Saks Fifth Avenue, you can buy a blue sweater at Goodwill, right? What end of the market do you wish to occupy? You need to make sure that your marketing then aligns with it. So keep that in mind. Now, one thing I'm known for saying is building a luxury brand and luxury marketing have become a necessity. I'm going to say that one more time. Building a luxury brand and luxury marketing have become a necessity. Why? So this is data from the Economic Policy Institute. And if we look all across the country, the gap between top earners in any given region and those with more modest incomes in any given region, it's expanding, right? So patients are going to do one of two things. They're either going to trade up and go to a premium provider, which is what I aspire for all of you watching me right now to be, or they're going to trade down and go to a more economical alternative, a very low price, high volume practice, which that's not what I want for any of you, right? But if you're that practice, if you're that provider, that when you think about your pricing, you say, I'm not at the top of my market, I'm not at the bottom, I'm kind of in the middle. The unfortunate reality is in 2024, the middle has kind of become this really irrelevant place, right? We look at the world of retail and you see all the mid-market retailers, the Sears, the J.C. Penney's, the Macy's of the world. They're the ones who are really scrambling, right? So patients and consumers either are trading up right now or they're trading down. And I want all of you to be those brands, those practices that when people trade up, you're the first one they think of. So let's talk about some very actionable strategies that you can use to do exactly that. Now, just a point of clarification first, anytime I talk about marketing to the affluent, I talk about going up market, people start getting visions of, private jets and vacation homes in St. Tropez and butlers and caviar and all of this. And that is certainly an end of the market you might wish to serve, right? The ultra high net worth individual. I don't know if any of you have individuals like that in your practice right now, but I'll tell you something about serving the ultra high net worth individual. They've got money in the bank, but my goodness, they act exactly like your Groupon shoppers, right? They are some of the most penny pinching patients you will ever come across. They've got fortunes, but they don't want to spend any of it, right? So when I talk to you all about marketing to the affluent, the market I want you all to think of is a little bit different.